Good morning. Craig Howard here. Happy to be with you again this morning. As you can see, the ladder is still leaning against the house. We're not done with the roof yet. I thought surely yesterday we'd be done with the roof and it would be all finished. And I had never flashed around a chimney with a metal roof before. And it took me quite a while to figure out how to do the flashing correctly so that it wouldn't leak. And I YouTube videoed and I called CN Metals and I asked them, why don't you send instructions with this kit you send? Because the kit they sent was nothing like the kit that every other kit that I saw being used on YouTube. And so I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I don't see how we're going to be able to do this, and da 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 da. On and on it went. Finally, we figured it out, and it looks good, and it's good and solid and sound and everything, but it took a lot longer to do that flashing and to do the things that we had to do than I thought it was going to take. And it reminded me this morning when I got up that things don't always move in our time. We have a time frame that we would like things to move in. We have a time frame that we would like God to move in. We have a certain time frame that we want to see prayers answered, or that we want to see God accomplish something, or that we want to see spiritual growth in our life, or that we want to see some event in our church move forward, or something come to an end that we think's time is up, or whatever the case may be. And we're such slaves to time in our society and in our world, where God is not. The Bible makes it pretty clear that God doesn't care so much about time, and we have a hard time adjusting to God's time frame. I was looking up some verses this morning having to do with God's timing. And I, of course, ran across Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. For everything there is a season, a time for every matter under heaven. And we don't set that time. God sets the time. He sets the time for us to be born. He sets the time for us to die. And there are certain things in our life that work under God's timing. But it tells us in Psalms 27:14, wait for the Lord, be strong, and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. Twice in that one verse, it says, wait for the Lord. Be willing to wait on His timing. We don't like, if you're like me, we don't like waiting. We don't like waiting at a restaurant. We don't like waiting for, our food. We don't like waiting for anything. We're just a society that's learned to want things right now and be instant. And God says sometimes, for whatever reason, sometimes we have to wait on God because we're not ready for the answer that God wants to give us. And so He makes us wait. Sometimes He makes us wait because there's other things that we need to learn or other things that we need to see. But He says, wait for the Lord. Be strong in waiting for the Lord. It goes on to tell us in Galatians chapter 6, verse 9, and let us not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. Again, it's that waiting thing. Don't be weary. It's a good thing to put a roof on a house. But I'm tired of it. I'm ready for it to be done, but it's not done. And I've got more time to spend up there, at least another day, to get it done. And, it says don't grow weary in well-doing. Not just putting roofs on house, but, sometimes we're working in a ministry, or we're working to help somebody, or we're trying to help somebody, and we try to move them forward, and we try to wrap things up, and we grow weary in the process. I've got a young lady that I've been working with and trying to help for probably 5 or 6 years now. And, sometimes you think, man, this should be further along. But she's got a lot of issues, a lot of problems. I'm sorry, I'm kind of plugged up this morning. She's got a lot of issues and a lot of problems, and I have to be patient and wait on God's timing to accomplish what He needs to accomplish in her life. Let me just give you one last verse Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11 says, He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, He has put eternity into man's heart, yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. That first part of that verse is something I hold on to. God, He has made everything beautiful in its time. Sometimes there's things that go on in our world and in our time, around us that are kind of ugly. And some of what our country is going through right now is kind of ugly. But I keep holding on to the fact that God has a plan for our world, and He has a plan for me, and He's going to make everything beautiful in His time. So I have to be patient. And I have to say, okay, God, I'm going to wait on your time. I'm going to wait on your time to develop the things you need to develop in my life. I'm going to wait on your time to develop the things that you need to develop in our world, in my church, and on and on and on the list goes. It's waiting on God's timing. And that can be difficult. But in the end, if we're willing to do it, in due season you'll reap if you don't faint. You have a great day. Kind of gray today. I'm not sure what it's calling for, but the birds are singing. Everything's green. I love it. I love looking out across the mountain and seeing all the greens, everything all greened up. God is so good, and He's given us, I'm reminded, I am done, but I'm reminded when I look out and I see all the beauty that I can see from my deck. The birds are flying across right there, and the mountains are there in the background, and all the trees are just green and lush around me. God didn't have to make the world like this. This is a love letter from God, and I'm appreciative. You have a great day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. God bless. Goodbye.